A new tropical cyclone is forming and it's headed for Japan. So we have a new tropical cyclone, a TD designated by the Japanese Meteorological Agency, a tropical depression still labelled 90W on the JTWC, and it hasn't been named by the JMA. So we have a system that doesn't have a name, but it's difficult to actually call it anything. Currently 35 mph winds and a pressure of 1007 millibars, moving north-northwest at 17 miles per hour as of 10 p.m. Japan Standard Time this August 10th. This system is expected to curve northwards and then towards the northeast. Here's its current position right now, displayed on the map: 26.1 degrees north, 137.6 degrees east. And it is headed towards the north eventually, and then towards the northeast, as I mentioned. Currently 635 kilometers east of the Daito Islands, 736 from Aogashima and the Itsu Island chain, 955 from Hamamatsu, 1055 from Yokohama, and 1083 from the capital Tokyo. There are a few gale warnings out there already for the southeastern part of Honshu. But as of right now, there's no real severe warnings yet for this storm. We are expecting the main concerns to be high waves and rip currents, and that's what we've displayed here with regard to this tropical depression. The intensity forecast is uncertain, so that's why we're highlighting more towards the high waves and rip currents there along the coast of southeastern Honshu, particularly affecting Kanagawa and Chiba. Wind gusts could also be damaging, of course, along with flash flooding concerns as the storm passes. It will be a quick passage when it does so, but that will possibly bring the winds up further as well. Here is the forecast track and wind field. You can see they're curving northwards, then northeastwards. There's the winds getting up, tropical storm strength. And this is not that certain a forecast right now. As you'll see on the GFS model, it's calling for something quite different. But eventually, according to the model consensus, we've got the storm tracking up towards the Kuril Islands and dissipating as an extratropical low. Here it is right now with 35 mph winds estimated by the JMA and our own analysis. The ATCF is much lower at 25 miles per hour, but it is supported by AMSU. We have no real ASCAT readings for this at the moment, unfortunately, but that's about what we have right now. 35 miles per hour, no indication that it has tropical storm force winds yet. Here's another look at the models, as I mentioned, the spread of each different model there, quite a few of them displayed. On this particular display, not that much of a stark contrast between them all, but this doesn't include the latest GFS model run, which we'll be coming onto in just a moment. In fact, here it is, and it shows the storm developing nicely at first. Eastern side will have the strongest winds, and there it is grazing the coast, and actually has a trajectory much further towards the east on its latest forecast, swirling off towards out to sea and then up towards the northeast. Difference in this forecast model run is that it hugs the land for a lot longer further south. You can see it there near Hamamatsu and Shizuoka, and then heading on towards along the coast, east-northeast more than anything, as it passes Tokyo. So that's a significant potential change in the forecast. Here is the water vapor display, and this is sort of like a mock-up of what the satellite imagery might look like. And you can see there's some very dark greens entering some yellows, high precipitation potential in all of that, and you can see that front moving through afterwards, delivering another deluge over the whole island chain, it would appear. But there it is, moving in once again. Landfall we would expect to be in the afternoon or evening of the 13th, which is what day is that? Saturday. and then well out to sea, moving on towards the northeast. Here is the rainfall expectations, and you can see once again what that potential is. That's on this latest model run, which I think we see is quite interesting. If the storm does track over land, I think it's quite probable that you'll see 5 inches of rain. That's 125 millimeters. If it does fail to make landfall, then rainfall amount should be quite a bit less, at only around the 2 or 3 inch values. It's around 50 to 75 millimeters. Of course, you can see near where the storm is right now, with all of that energy and blowing up convection, it's producing a lot of rain down there, but no land areas involved, so we're really looking at Japan there, possibly getting to 6 inches. Sea surface temperatures are very warm around the storm, and it will do the storm good, quite honestly, with temperatures 29 to 30 degrees Celsius for quite a way yet, and still 28 degrees right along the coast of Japan, into Tokyo around 27 to 28 degrees Celsius. If it does move further towards the northeast, temperatures will drop below 26 degrees after it passes the Ibaraki area, but if it remains further south and moves further east, then it will last longer because it's got those warmer sea surface temperatures. Here's some satellite imagery as it progressed throughout this evening. As you can see, night has fallen over the region, although you can still see a little bit of tropical storm or depression Mulan there as well. Let's move on to the next imagery, which will show us quite an interesting viewpoint on the satellite imagery throughout the course of today. Here's how it has transpired from the Himawari 8 satellite, true color imagery, and you can see the storm swirling away nicely there towards the southern part, well to the south of the Japanese islands. A big front moving through the northern part of Japan, by the way, and that's providing a lot of rainfall further north, but this storm will eventually strike the southeastern part, which has been dry today. Convection blowing up more in those latest frames, and we're pretty confident that the circulation has been established. Looking at some more imagery, this is from RAM, showing the progression on infrared, and it's got a decent area of red there in the center of the storm, with a few yellows there as well actually, so a decent convection blowing well into the -80s, with the convection being possibly slightly displaced to the southwest of the center, so that is something that will slow down the storm strengthening. Of course, it's not going to strengthen very quickly, particularly in these first few days, as we saw. Now scrolling away and looking at the wider picture, you can see another view of it again here. Lots of dry air to its north as well, so it's going to be battling against that. It will weaken possibly, or stay weak for the next couple of days before starting to strengthen as it goes along the frontal boundary, as it continues northeastwards, and then it goes on to affect Japan. Exactly how far inland its effects will be felt is still an unknown quantity. We're still not really sure whether the storm will even make landfall or whether it will stay offshore. That of course applying to the main island of Honshu. There are plenty of smaller islands just offshore that could be severely or directly impacted by this storm's center. And one more look here, showing another perspective on the storm right now, and another one. There's Mulan, by the way, and now looking once again at 90W off the far edge of that screen, showing a big blob of convection, which is quite sizable, extending a similar distance to the bottom of Okinawa to the top of the Amami Islands, almost reaching a 4x4 grid square there, so a significant size, and it will remain a fairly small storm. It will grow a little bit once it passes the Japanese islands as it continues northeastwards there, but it's going to be a rather short-lived storm, and it will be there and gone pretty quickly. As mentioned before, the main threats are probably going to be high waves and surf. Rainfall amounts could be quite significant in some areas, and of course this storm will produce gales and strong winds.